The command deck of the GCS Valiant echoed with laughter, sharp, metallic, and condescending. General Vakreth leaned forward in his gravity-thrown seat, segmented armor glinting under sterile lighting. I propose Earth's wilderness for the next games. The Amazon. The last word came out with theatrical disdain. A Krivathi admiral chuckled, his mandibles rattling. The jungle world? Primitive and unrefined. That region is quarantined for a reason, no? Vakreth waved a claw dismissively. A human tactic. Drama wrapped in secrecy. No true soldier fears moss and moisture. Let their trees be our playground. Dozens of holoscreens displayed satellite imagery, endless emerald canopy, clouds hugging the forest like breath on glass. To most in the room, it looked like an inconvenient terrain obstacle. To Vakreth, it looked like an easy win. Approved, the coalition arbiter announced. Earth has 72 hours to deploy its ground forces. The chamber cleared slowly. Vakreth lingered, watching a feed of the forest swaying under its own mysterious rhythm. Let's see if their wild gods bleed, he muttered. On Earth, Captain Elena Mireles was already hiking into the green. No escort. No grand speech. Just her boots on leaf-littered soil, and the faint hum of unseen life around her. She preferred silence to ceremony. The jungle listened better. A retinal ping flickered across her vision, orders confirmed. She stopped by a colossal ceiba tree, placed her palm against the trunk. It pulsed once beneath her skin, warm and aware. Quetzal unit had 24 hours to prepare. She tapped her comm. Command, this is Captain Mireles. Confirmed, we're live. A gruff voice answered. Copy. Coalition begins drop in 2 days. Objective? Hold the zone. Break their pride. The underground barracks thrummed with low conversation and gear checks. Elena stood at the center, arms crossed as her team assembled. Nico Vance, her systems hacker and drone whisperer, adjusted a bio-linked headset. They're bringing scouts with anti-thermal armor. Want me to black out their frequencies? Do it, Elena said. And make sure their own eyes lie to them. Yerotam, half a head taller than the others, grunted as he slid a machete into a sheath. Bet the bugs eat the fancy ones first. Lien Zhou didn't look up from her microlab. She was loading toxin samples into dart cartridges. If they torch the forest again, it'll be worse than bugs. Elena raised a hand. Silence fell. This isn't about pride, she said. It's not revenge. It's exposure. They think we're beneath them. Let's show them what we've learned while they mocked us. A long beat. Then nods. Unspoken unity. She continued, if any of you get captured, don't expect mercy. Vakreth leads this up. He's not coming to spar. He's coming to humiliate us. Yarrow grinned. Then we'll break his face. Nightfall came fast in the exclusion zone. Light disappeared not with grace, but in a slow, choking fade as foliage consumed it. The jungle pulsed, nocturnal and alive. Elena moved alone through the upper canopy, navigating by memory and the subtle clicks of her motion-linked suit. Beneath her, something large shifted in the underbrush. She didn't flinch. She reached an old stone altar, half swallowed by vines. It wasn't spiritual, but strategic, a marker her brother had once used. Dario had always seen patterns where others saw chaos. She closed her eyes. 2 years ago, he'd led a humanitarian escort during a joint exercise with coalition units. A minor misstep, a crossed order, he'd been left behind. The official report blamed human hesitation. Elena didn't buy that. And now, Vakreth was here again, mocking the land her brother died defending. A low growl pulled her from thought. A panther, enhanced with synthetic muscle weave, emerged nearby. It watched her with intelligent eyes, then turned and vanished into the dark. She smiled. The jungle remembered him, too. Back at command, her squad ran silent drills, interfacing with biomech drones grown from wasp nests and barkskin camo suits that changed pattern with exposure. No electromagnetic emissions. No noise. They were ghosts. The coalition would drop in loud, confident, expecting data feeds and heat maps. All they'd get was green. And teeth. Elena joined them just before dawn. Tomorrow they land. Yarrow yawned. Should we set the welcome traps? Nico held up a drone sphere, its root-like antennae twitching. They'll never see the net coming. Lien slid a needle into her gauntlet holster. Let's make this clinical. Elena nodded once. No glory. No speeches. We disappear into the trees. Let them come. She paused, then looked at each one of them. You're the finest predators in this jungle. You're not fighting for Earth's ego. You're fighting to remind them, we are Earth. As the sky began to lighten, Elena stood again at the Seba. The jungle shimmered with humidity and unseen intention. From far above, somewhere beyond the atmosphere, alien dropships began their burn. She didn't look up. They're coming, she whispered. Good. The wind stirred the leaves in response. The sky split with thunder that wasn't weather. Coalition drop pods screamed through the stratosphere like burning fists. They fell in tight formations, flaring as they slammed into the canopy. Bark exploded, birds scattered, and the jungle hissed like a wounded animal. General Vakrath stepped from his pod first, armor hissing as it adjusted to the wet air. His visor scanned the terrain, temperature, high. Humidity, hostile. Life signs everywhere. Behind him, his vanguard, 1,000 heavy infantry, agile chorus scouts, and 3 Krivathi drone engineers, fanned out in textbook precision. This is the theater? A Korath officer muttered, adjusting his optical visor. Where's the opposition? Vakrath clicked his mandibles. Buried in the dirt, if they're smart. Move forward. Clear 2 clicks. Burn anything that moves. The jungle watched them go. A mile away, Captain Elena Mireles crouched high in the canopy, eyes fixed on a thermal map projected across her cornea. The enemy spread like a slow infection, symmetric, confident, predictable. Targets confirmed, she whispered. Nico's voice buzzed in her ear. 10 squads. 0 stealth. Broadcasting on 6 frequencies. Want them blind? Yes, Elena said. Steal their eyes. Seconds later, alien comms twisted into static. Helmet cams flickered. Data streams failed. Maps blinked out. The 1,000 patrols slowed, glancing at their gear. Elena gave a soft nod. Yarrow, it's yours. Yarrow Tam stood ankle-deep in muck, motionless beneath a curtain of vines. His suit matched the bark around him, even mimicking the texture. When 1,000 soldier trudged past, Yarrow stepped forward, silent. One hand clamped over the alien's mouth. The blade slipped between armor seams. The body dropped without sound. 3 minutes later, 4 more vanished the same way. By nightfall, 5 squads had stopped reporting in. Vakrath stood inside a temporary command dome lit by cold blue panels. Rain pelted the roof like fingers tapping impatience. The Korath officer approached, dripping and irritated. We've lost 23. Vakrath didn't turn. Accidents. Sir, we haven't seen a single human. It's like the jungle's eating us. Then set it on fire. The flamethrowers worked, at first. Dry underbrush ignited, casting flickering shadows through the forest. Creatures fled. Trees cracked and bled sap. But then came the clicks. Thousands of them. The fire team froze. From above, large insects, engineered leafcutters with razor mandibles and hive logic, descended in waves. Armor plates cracked like eggshells. By the time backup arrived, only boots and blackened helmets remained. Lian Zhou crouched at the hive's edge, watching the aftermath. She scribbled notes into a small slate. Elena, she whispered, they triggered swarm defense. Hive Sigma 12. Unprovoked. Casualties? Elena asked. 3 dozen minimum. Elena exhaled. Good. The jungle's awake now. On the second day, panic crept into the aliens' movements. Patrols shortened. Fires were banned. Drone flights lost contact within minutes. Even their synthetic sense failed, overwhelmed by pheromone interference. Nico smiled, working his portable console beneath a thick root. They're deaf, blind, and tracking their own ghost signals. Elena stood nearby, watching enemy positions flicker on her map. Time to cut deeper. 2 Chorus scouts slashed through thick vines, muttering curses in their native clicks. They were fast, trained in tracking. But here, speed meant noise. They passed under a mossy overhang. 1 second, they were walking. The next, roots above uncoiled like serpents. 1 scout vanished, pulled upward, muffled scream trailing behind. The second turned, fired wildly, until a dart struck his neck. He collapsed, twitching, muscles locking. High in the trees, Lien whispered, "Nightshade. Fast acting. Minimal suffering." Yarrow beside her grunted, "You always say that." By late afternoon, Vakra stood alone on a ridge, helmet off, claws flexing. "This is impossible," he said aloud. The jungle didn't answer. It never did. His comm crackled. Incoming transmission. On a private channel, a voice played, calm, steady. "You wanted our jungle. Now you have it. We're not hiding. We're watching." Vakra snarled. "Trace it." But there was nothing to trace. Back in a camouflaged observation dome, blended into the side of a massive strangler fig, Elena sat cross-legged. Her squad gathered around. Nico shook his head. "They're sending recon mechs tomorrow. Autonomous." Yarrow smirked. "Let's teach the machines about fear." Lien added, "Might be time for the canopy droppers." Elena nodded once. "Use the roots. They trust flat terrain. We'll give them a surprise from above." The next morning, the coalition deployed their pride, 6-legged recon units with terrain-adaptive armor and swarm AI. They spread in tight grids, scanning, logging, calculating. They didn't calculate for gravity. Dozens of trap vines, woven with reinforced fiber and muscle tendon grafts, snapped from above. Each mech was dragged into tree hollows, crushed, or fed into the root network below. The rest backed off, just in time to trigger the moss mines Nico had programmed. Explosions laced with neurotoxin mist turned retreat into collapse. From high above, Elena watched the data unfold. Her display showed the alien forces shrinking by the hour. Their lines were broken. Their rhythm gone. She tapped her mic. "Broadcast this." Nico routed her voice across all open coalition channels. "Withdraw now. Or keep feeding the forest. Either way, we won't come looking." Vakra smashed a console in rage. His officers flinched. "This is not a war, it's sabotage," the Krivathi tech whispered. "General, we may be prey." Vakrath turned slowly, eyes burning. "Then it's time I entered the field." He stepped into his war harness, plated with ablative shielding and lined with disruptor gel. Around him, energy whined. "Inform command," he growled. "General Vakrath enters the jungle." The jungle would not be ready. At least, he thought it wouldn't. But Elena already knew. She whispered to her squad, eyes narrowing. "He's coming. Let's lead him to the heart." General Vakrath descended alone, a thunderclap in metal. His war harness flared with kinetic shielding, each footstep sinking into the damp floor with the weight of authority. The jungle didn't welcome him. It swallowed him. Above him, hidden in the lattice of branches, Elena tracked his movement. Her visor blinked a steady pulse, target locked. "He came," she said quietly. Yarrow, pressed flat against a trunk nearby, grinned. "Stupid or brave?" "Both," Elena replied. "He brought ego. Leave him with fear." Vakrath moved through the undergrowth with forced patience. Around him, sensors swept in tight arcs, but their returns were fractured. Trees that weren't trees, heat that flickered, paths that vanished. The deeper he went, the quieter the forest became. He paused. Ahead, hanging from a low vine, dangled a helmet. Scorched. Human. He approached, scanned it. No body. No ID. Just a word etched into the side in blood. Welcome. Vakreth snarled and surged forward. Elena led him by breadcrumbs, half-tracks, broken leaves, purposefully scattered footprints. Every false signal carried him deeper into Sector 9, where light barely touched the ground and the air grew thick with spores. Her team fell behind, moving in wide flanks. Lien ghosted through the underbrush, watching toxin levels. Nico scrambled the general's audio logs, layering echoes and whispers in his calm feed. Yarrow moved ahead to the kill site. Vakreth broke into a clearing where the trees opened above like a cathedral. Mist curled at the edges, thick and silver. Strange blossoms pulsed with internal light. It was silent. Too silent. He raised his cannon. Then he heard it, steps behind him. He spun fast. Nothing. Then, crack. Something struck his back plate. A dart? No, shrapnel from a nearby root explosion. He stumbled sideways, vision dancing. Hallucinogen. He hissed. Weak. But already, the world was swimming. Elena watched him stagger, then descend into a practiced crouch. He's trained against biowarfare. Lien whispered. Doesn't matter, Elena said. He doesn't know where he is. Vakreth activated his full shielding. A wave of blue light surged outward, burning spores from the air. I am General Vakreth, he shouted. You think you can trap me with tricks? He fired blindly into the canopy. Plasma bolts scorched leaves, shattered bark. A drone shrieked and dropped, melting midair. Nico winced in his earpiece. He's got a high-output dampener. Can't keep eyes on him long. Then we bring him lower, Elena said. Yarrow burst from cover first, sprinting low, blade in hand. Vakreth caught the motion and fired, but Yarrow had already vanished behind a wide root. A moment later, a barrage of thorn projectiles whistled from the treetops, forcing Vakreth to duck. That was the moment Elena needed. She dropped from above, knees landing on his shoulders with brutal force, knocking him off balance. Her knife scraped sparks across his helmet. He roared, grabbed her arm, threw her across the clearing. She landed in a roll, panting. Vakreth stood tall, armor scarred but intact. You're the leader. Elena got to her feet. That's right. He stepped forward, claws clicking. You used poisons. Ghosts. Cowardice. She moved left, circling him. We used knowledge. You just never thought we had any. He charged. They collided midfield. Vakreth's brute strength drove her back, but Elena was faster, cutting, slipping, dragging him toward the forest wall. He slammed a fist at her ribs. She dropped under it, knife drawing a thin line along his waist seam. You can't win this, he growled. We already have, she replied, ducking under a branch. You just haven't noticed. He followed her blindly. That's when the roots moved. The ground buckled beneath him as a trap sprung. Synthetic root systems, powered by buried biomech cells, snapped around his legs. He fired downward, freeing one, but not before a spine tendril shot from the ground, piercing his side. Vakreth screamed. His harness flared, overcompensating. He yanked free, stumbling backward, leaking viscous green fluid. Elena, Nico said in her ear. His shield's down to 30. Suit integrity failing. No, she whispered. The jungle itself answered. From the trees came a low rumble, like breath. Massive vines, ancient and knotted, descended. One coiled around Vakreth's cannon and ripped it free. Another wrapped his arm, holding him firm. He fought like a beast. But his strength meant little now. Elena stepped forward. He looked at her, bleeding, seething. You would have made a fine Thalson. I made a better human, she said. Then she stepped aside. Behind her, a living trunk split open. A massive defensive flora, coded generations ago, emerged. Its barbed limbs struck like a piston. Vakreth was thrown across the clearing, armor shattered, breath gone. He lay motionless. Elena approached carefully. His eyes blinked open, dazed. You won't kill me, he croaked. No, she said. You'll live. You'll return. And you'll explain what happened here. Every detail. His glare was venom. She crouched beside him. Next time you think of mocking Earth, remember this. Your soldiers feared us, your tech failed, and your pride broke. He didn't answer. Couldn't. She stood, tapped her comm. Lien, sedate him. Nico, prep evac. Yarrow, get our friend wrapped up. She looked toward the treetops as light pierced the canopy in narrow beams. He's done. We're not. And the jungle, calm once more, closed its mouth behind them. The extraction shuttle cut through the dawn haze, blades thumping above a world that had no need for engines. It hovered low above the clearing where the fight had ended hours ago. The jungle beneath looked untouched. No scars, no blood, just ancient silence. Inside the shuttle, Vakreth lay strapped to a reinforced gurney. His armor had been peeled off in pieces, his wounds sealed with human med gel. Tubes ran from his arm to a drip. He stared at nothing. Across from him, Captain Elena Mirella sat in silence. Her uniform was stained, her left arm bandaged. She didn't gloat. She didn't speak. Until he broke the quiet. You think you've humiliated me? She didn't even blink. No. I think you humiliated yourself. He turned his head slowly. Your planet is still a feral backwater. She leaned forward, eyes level. Then you lost to vines and mud. Let that echo in your next debrief. He had no answer. 2 days later, the Coalition Senate gathered for the broadcast. Delegates from across the spiral arms tuned in from orbiting stations and planetary councils. On screen, Earth's emblem, an oak tree wrapped in constellations. Then Elena appeared. She stood in jungle fatigues against the backdrop of the Amazon, not a studio. Light filtered through leaves behind her. Her voice was calm. Controlled. General Vakreth entered Earth's exclusion zone leading a multi-species task force of 400. Of those, 60 were extracted intact. No humans died. Our unit used no orbital support, no mechanized armor, and no lethal drones. Only our terrain. And our training. A beat. This wasn't a victory. It was a reminder. Earth adapts. Earth endures. And when underestimated, Earth survives. The footage cut in, alien patrols falling to traps, mechs dragged into hollows, soldiers confused, frightened. Then Vakreth, half crushed, dragged out by human soldiers as the jungle towered silently around him. The final frame, a single line carved into bark. You came as hunters. You left as memory. The aftermath hit faster than expected. Vakreth was officially relieved of operational duties and reassigned to a diplomatic role, a polite demotion for a very public failure. The Thalson withdrew several high command recommendations for Earth's military restriction. The Coalition suspended future games involving unconsenting member planets. Earth's stock, once the butt of jokes, began to shift in the halls of power. Requests for jungle training programs rolled in. Delegations asked for biomech symbiosis demonstrations. Suddenly, the feral world wasn't just tolerated, it was respected. Some said feared. At a reforestation altar deep in Sector 7, Elena stood alone, boots in soft loam. She carried a small wooden box in her hands. Rain speckled the leaves, gentle but steady. The box contained a nameplate, Lieutenant Dario Mireles. Beneath it, a folded note, asterisk. He died doing the right thing. And we remembered. Asterisk. She knelt and slid the box into a niche in the tree, where the bark slowly curled over it like skin. Behind her, Nico approached, quiet. Didn't mean to interrupt. You didn't, she said, still facing the tree. I wanted him here. You think he saw it? She stood. He made this possible. The jungle remembers. They walked back without speaking. Later, back at base, Lien adjusted the band on her wrist, an old habit. You know they want a delegation to speak at the next summit. Elena raised an eyebrow. Us? They asked for you, actually. Said they'd appreciate insight into human asymmetrical ground advantage. Yarrow barked a laugh from across the table. Just say they want jungle lessons and can't admit it. Elena gave a small smile. Maybe they're learning. Nico frowned at his datapad. One catch. There's talk of turning the exclusion zones into coalition-approved training sites. Standardized. Sanitized. The air cooled around them. They want to package this, Bien said flatly. Turn our home into a lab. Elena shook her head. That won't happen. The jungle isn't theirs to shape. Yarrow nodded. Let them try. See how fast the trees teach them. That night, Elena sat alone outside the barracks, watching the moon shimmer above the canopy. Somewhere below, the jungle sang, deep, slow tones from insects, birds, and biotech organisms evolved past easy classification. She pulled a worn journal from her satchel. The pages were thick, handwritten. Her brothers. She turned to the last entry. They'll never understand this place until they respect it. And they won't respect it until it hurts them. I just hope they live long enough to learn. She closed the book, hands steady. A soft chime sounded. A new message. From Coalition Senate. Subject, Official Recognition, Earth Ground Unit Quetzal. Status, Cleared for Strategic Consultation. Addendum, you are formally invited to submit doctrine proposals for Coalition field operations in jungle-class environments. She stared at the words. A year ago, they'd laughed at Earth. Now they were listening. Morning came warm and wet. Clouds rolled low. Quetzal unit packed light, just essentials. No fanfare. No parade. That wasn't their way. As they moved into the green, their forms blurred and vanished into the thick. By the time a distant satellite caught the last image, Elena disappearing beneath a curtain of vines, the file was already marked. Mission complete, jungle superiority confirmed. Recommendation: do not engage Earth units in wilderness combat scenarios without extreme caution. Final report line: they don't just survive in the wild. They command it. And far below the noise of politics and data streams, Earth's jungle pulsed on, unconquered, unbent, alive.